I have discovered 4 ruthless power levers to make yourself absolutely unfireable and command ultimate leverage in any corporation without playing the good little team player or grinding yourself into burnout. You sit in meetings watching a chronically incompetent coworker survive every layoff while you carry their dead weight and get reprimanded for a single typo. You think the system is broken, but it's working exactly as designed. Militarily, you are operating like a kamikaze drone, sacrificing yourself to hit targets that don't even matter to the generals. Financially, you have become an undervalued junk bond, yielding massive returns but priced at the bottom. While your untouchable coworker is a toxic asset, the bank is simply too terrified to liquidate. The system doesn't protect them because they are valuable. It protects them because you make it affordable. In this video, I will show you 4 brutal rules behind why some employees are untouchable to stop being collateral damage and become the one pulling the strings. Let's begin. Number 4, the calculus of inaction. You think filing a well-documented complaint about an incompetent coworker to HR is an act of professional integrity. It's not. It's an act of political suicide. You genuinely believe that if you just gather enough evidence, put it in a neat little PDF, and present it to your manager, they will gasp in horror, fire the dead weight, and pin a medal on your chest. Wake up. When you report someone for constantly missing deadlines, delivering garbage code, or being generally toxic, you assume management is evaluating the moral validity of your claim. They aren't. They do not care about workplace justice. They evaluate one thing and one thing only: the raw, agonizing cost of resolution. Let me break down what happens in your boss's brain when you complain. Firing someone is not a push-button operation. It requires months of HR coordination. It requires drafting a performance improvement plan, which is essentially a legal document. It requires endless meetings, mitigating lawsuit risks, and figuring out the nightmare of knowledge transfer. And worst of all, while that empty seat is waiting to be filled by a new hire, guess who has to absorb the fired employee's workload? The manager. You aren't asking for accountability. You are handing your boss a massive, exhausting chore. The untouchable employee survives because tolerating their dysfunction is simply cheaper and easier for management than doing the actual administrative labor to remove them. A manager will always choose a predictable headache over an unpredictable nightmare. They know the guy is useless. Everyone knows. But keeping him useless in the corner is a zero-effort strategy. You complaining about it? That is forcing effort. Suddenly, you become the annoying one in the equation and stop asking management to care about fairness. Fairness is a concept for children. You have to make the untouchable employee's existence mathematically more expensive than the cost of firing them. How? Let their mistakes detonate. Stop being the invisible goalie for a team that doesn't pay you to play defense. Stop proofreading their slides right before the big presentation. Stop quietly fixing their broken code at 8 p.m. Stop smoothing over the ruffled feathers of the client they just insulted. You are padding the walls of their incompetence so nobody hears the crash. Remove the padding, let the glass break. When their incompetence finally starts costing the high-level decision-makers actual money, time, or public embarrassment, the calculation flips instantly. When the VP screams because a major deliverable is missing, you do not jump in to save the day. You calmly state the facts. The key word is finally. You don't pull this trigger on day one because on day one, the damage is still small. And a small explosion that nobody sees is just noise. What you're actually doing is stepping back quietly. No announcement, no dramatic exit. You just stop lapping the crater shut. You let it dig itself deeper, and when it's finally big enough that the right people can't ignore it anymore, that's when you calmly state the facts. You didn't create the crater. You just stopped filling it in. You only win this game when their survival becomes a massive, undeniable liability to the person signing your boss's paycheck. Number 3, the subsidy trap. When the untouchable employee drops the ball, you pick it up. You build the workarounds. You take on the extra tasks. You route around their sheer incompetence to keep the project moving forward because you have this delusion that management will notice your sacrifice. And you tell yourself this makes you a leader. You think it makes you indispensable. What it actually makes you is free corporate insurance. I used to do this exact same embarrassing routine. I thought if I just worked hard enough to cover for the idiots around me, I'd eventually be handed the keys to the kingdom. I wasn't. I was just handed more of their work. By absorbing the gaps that the untouchable employee creates, you make that bad employee completely affordable to keep on the payroll. You are literally doing 1.5 jobs for the price of one. Why on earth would the company fire them? You are subsidizing their paycheck with your own sweat. You allow management to remain comfortably, blissfully blind to the structural rot of the team. Your hyper-competence has become their excuse for absolute inaction. You think Chad from marketing survives every round of layoffs because he knows the CEO's dark secrets? No. Chad survives because you keep formatting his disastrous Excel sheets at 9 p.m. on a Thursday, so the Friday morning meeting goes smoothly. Chad is a parasite, but you are the one actively feeding him. Weaponize your boundaries, quarantine the incompetence, and you must actively engineer situations where the untouchable employee's failure falls squarely, undeniably on their own desk. You need a digital paper trail so thick it could stop a bullet, and it needs to be subtly CC'd to upper management, not every email, not every minor slip. A snitch reports the crime. A documentarian lets the crime report itself. If a project is stalling because they didn't do their part, you do not scramble to do it for them. You let the project stall. You sit on your hands. You go make a coffee. And you state plainly in writing in the main project channel, awaiting the Q3 data input from Chad to proceed with the final render. Chad, let me know when you've uploaded it. That's it. Cold, professional, lethal. You toss the monkey right back onto their back, and you let everyone watch them struggle to carry it. Stop being a shock absorber for a broken machine. Force the structural rot out into the open fluorescent lighting where everyone is forced to smell it. If you are feeling sick, realizing how much you've subsidized other people's incompetence, brace yourself, because the final rule, number 1, is a controversial hostage tactic that explains exactly how toxic lifers survive massive layoffs while top performers get cut. Stick around for that because it is the ultimate defense mechanism you must learn to weaponize. Now, let's look at number 2. Number 2, calibration drift. You've noticed the untouchable employee gets celebrated for doing the absolute bare minimum, while you get hauled into a meeting and reprimanded for a single minor typo on page 42 of a report. You think it's blatant favoritism. You think the boss just hates you. It's not malice. It's calibration drift. Organizations, like biological organisms, adapt to whatever is consistently present in their environment. The lazy, untouchable employee has successfully trained your shared management to expect absolute garbage from them. They have set the bar so phenomenally low that any basic bodily function, like answering an email within 48 hours or showing up to a Zoom call with pants on, is viewed as an improvement. You, on the other hand, have the golden retriever energy. You have trained management to expect flawless, rapid-fire execution. You deliver early. You double-check your numbers. You became the baseline of perfection. Now, look at the trap you've built for yourself. You are actively punished for deviating from perfection, while they are constantly praised for slightly deviating from total disaster. If you run a sub-4-minute mile every single day, the day you run a 4:05, management asks you if you're losing your touch. If the untouchable employee trips over his own shoelaces but manages to eventually cross the finish line by dinner time, he gets a standing ovation for showing grit. If you are still defending your 100% burnout rate, you are just playing the busy fool. And the only thing more foolish than that is watching this without hitting subscribe. Stop giving 100% of your capacity as your daily average. It is a terrible pricing strategy for your own labor. Cap your baseline output at 70%. You must ruthlessly control your own expectations. If you operate at maximum capacity every single day, you have absolutely zero headroom for actual emergencies. Worse, your excellence becomes a cheap, everyday commodity. It becomes the new normal. Nobody pays a premium for water unless they are in a desert. You need to throttle your output. Be reliably good, but deliberately hold back the magic. Reserve that remaining 30% solely for high visibility executive level saves. I'm talking about those rare moments when a critical crisis hits the fan and the VP is panicking. That is when you step in, deploy that reserve energy, and solve the problem in a few hours. You have to train management to view your absolute excellence as a premium, scarce asset that they are lucky to witness, not a daily given that they can just exploit for free. Number 1, strategic embeddedness. This is the ultimate dark arts boss secret that no corporate seminar will ever tell you. During layoffs, budget cuts, and massive corporate restructurings, companies do not fire the worst performers. They fire the ones who are the easiest to extract. Look at the perfect corporate citizen, the employee who listened to HR. They cross-trained their team. They meticulously documented their workflows in the shared Notion drive. They made sure everyone knew exactly how to do their job, just in case they went on vacation. They made themselves completely, seamlessly replaceable. Guess who is the very first person on the chopping block when the CFO demands a 15% headcount reduction? The perfect citizen. Because their departure creates absolutely zero operational friction. The company can cut their salary, and the machine keeps humming without missing a beat. Now, look at the toxic, untouchable corporate lifer. They survive every single purge. Why? Because they hoard undocumented institutional knowledge like a dragon hoarding gold. They own a critical client relationship that is based entirely on personal dinners, not company contracts. They are the only person who knows how to reboot the archaic legacy software that runs the entire payroll system. They are a single point of failure. They aren't untouchable because they are good at their jobs. They are untouchable because surgically extracting them from the company would trigger a complete system collapse. They have essentially taken the company's operations hostage. Job security does not come from being a good little worker bee. It comes from being operationally agonizing to remove. Stop over-documenting your value. Stop writing manuals on how to replace you. You need to build your own strategic embeddedness. Start volunteering to manage the obscure, highly complex vendor relationships that nobody else wants to deal with. Gatekeep a specific software, a CRM, or a legacy system. Become the absolute master of a highly technical process that bridges the gap between the engineering team and the finance team. Sit firmly at the intersection of 3 different departments where no one else fully understands the entire workflow but you. You do not do this to be malicious. You do this to build a moat around your paycheck. You must architect your position and your daily duties so tightly into the company's infrastructure that if they decide to hand you a pink slip on a Friday afternoon, the entire department goes into a blind, chaotic panic by Monday morning. When the executives run their layoff calculation, they look at your name, they look at the sheer collateral damage of you leaving, and they move on to the next name. The corporate system was never built to reward justice, morality, or hard work. It was built to optimize convenience and protect power. Stop being the company's disposable shock absorber. Start building your operational leverage tomorrow morning. Subscribe if you are done being corporate prey.